Yo, that whole Zoomers exposed the scam bit is insane, though.
It is, but it's also painfully real, like people are gaming the system.
When Tim says they invent mental health ailments, you buy that framing?
Not fully, because mental health is real, but the incentives are real too.
Right, like the manager asks, why late? And they go, I'm gay.
And the room goes silent like, don't worry about it. Legally,
That's not medicine, that's a cheat code with feelings attached.
yeah, but it points at something. Institutions reward plausible vulnerability.
Institutions reward it, algorithms amplify it, and suddenly everyone's performing.
So you think it's mostly performance, not fake, and if that makes sense?
I think fake is too simple, but optimized is the right vibe.
Optimized trauma. God, that sounds like a product feature.
And Tim goes even harder. Future is AI, not kids.
That's where the bit gets cartoonishly brutal, but the point is power shifting.
Power shifting to AI means what exactly? Jobs, control, narratives?
All three. If systems run on prediction, they'll favor whatever scales cleanly.
Which is why he's like, influencers don't need to exist, replace with AI versions.
That's the harshest thing he said, and I laughed. Great combo.
Because the generic barcodes with feet line, that's basically social media.
Yeah, like every influencer sounds copy-pasted from the same motivational template.
But do you think AI influencers are actually better or just emptier?
Better at output, emptier at meaning. That's still a downgrade for humans.
Unless meaning becomes optional for everyone, which is the scary part.
Wait, that already feels half true in 2026.
Yeah, like people don't ask, is it true? They ask, is it entertaining?
And Tim's comedy is basically entertainment as a truth delivery system.
Speaking of truth delivery, his origin story was dark, man.
The schizophrenia parent stuff hit different because it's not edgy, it's lived.
It started to really come out around 13, and he's trying to contextualize paranoia.
That you don't understand why your mother thinks people follow her part, brutal.
And then society's like eccentric fun, so nobody intervenes?
Exactly. Stigma turns danger into a personality trait.
Then he connects it to improv, like lying and filibustering made him fast on his feet.
Which is hilarious and tragic at the same time.
Best qualities don't come about for the best reasons. That should be tattooed somewhere.
Do you buy his closeted gay cocaine addict as the core comedic fuel?
I buy the survivorship angle, but I don't love turning pain into a brand.
Same. But with him, it sounded like coping, not marketing.
Then it snowballs into addiction rock bottom at 25. Egrets, booze, and mortgaged dreams.
The egret nest image is so weirdly cinematic, it almost feels fake.
Alcoholic end stage, bar named after a drunk driving victim. How do you even sit there?
He said he looked at those lives every night like, I'm heading there.
That's the part that made me think about agency. Hope plus threat.
Hope is the only lever, like he said, a version of me that's not drunk every day.
And then honesty in AA, he's like, I don't know if I can be honest. Seems insane.
Honesty is terrifying when you've built your personality on camouflage.
Also, the murder trial as a juror. How did that not wreck him?
It did. It forced vulnerability without jokes as armor.
And he talks about God, higher power, like God was difficult, not inspirational.
That honesty is probably why his comedy feels grounded, even when it's insane.
Then he pivots to comedy ethics. Correctness and comedy are at war.
I'm torn. Comedy needs rules, but correctness, people act like comedy is court.
Right? Like they demand the joke be morally approved before laughter counts.
Meanwhile, comedy's job is literally to be funny, not surgically accurate.
But the interesting bit is he's basically saying, aim your outrage at real power.
Do you think people overestimate comedians' gravity and weight?
They act like one rant changes legislation by next Tuesday.
Yeah, like comedians are CEOs of culture, not clowns with microphones.
That's why he's roasting cancellation stuff. He's like, I get mad, but I also enjoy the chaos.
I respect the point, but cancel culture isn't imaginary. It can ruin careers.
True, but I think he means comedians don't control the institutions doing harm.
Still, Sometimes soft power is real. Viral outrage can be leverage.
Yeah, but leverage is different from being the surgeon. Different domain, different consequences.
This whole conversation keeps coming back to incentives, how people become versions of themselves.
Boomers became versions that refused to leave McMansions.
And he's like funniest generation, but also emotional terrorists.
The man can't just roast normally, he roasts in metaphors.
His broader generational thesis is basically, boomers didn't care. Millennials wanted validation. Zoomers got cynical and gamified life.
I get the caricature, but it risks flattening everyone into one behavior pattern.
But caricature is the point. Comedy exaggerates to expose incentives.
Exactly. And then he goes full build prisons for children, which is obviously outrageous.
Yeah, that was the wildest line. Like, draft them for the military, let them go elsewhere.
It's edgy venting, but the underlying fear is violence with no motive for clout.
That's the part that makes it not just comedy. Public harm plus attention economy.
Do you think society is too reactive to clips and not reactive enough to causes?
I think we treat symptoms like content. Then we act surprised when kids learn the game.
And elections, he says no new talent, nobody wants to be a politician unless psychotic.
Which is hilarious, but also, why are all the top spots filled with old energy?
He's arguing talent opts out because systems are toxic and press is predatory.
That's incentive theory again. Everyone's like, why would I enter a rigged arena?
The closest thing to optimism he had was faith and spiritual freedom after losing his mother.
Yeah, that ending felt less like a bit and more like a real surrender.
He was basically like, keeping her in a body and mind fighting felt selfish.
And he's saying her spirit is free, more peace than performance.
Which is funny because earlier he was like God was difficult in AA.
People don't change linearly. They just eventually find a version that holds.
All right, I'm curious what you're taking away. Generational scam or personal survival?
Personally, survival, because it explains why the generational rants feel like pain with teeth.
Pain with teeth is still going to trend on TikTok, unfortunately.
Facts. Okay, we should wrap before we start drafting a new draft for teenagers.
All right, that's episode 1 energy, chaotic honesty, comedic aggression, and AI looming. See you next time.
Episode 2, we're diving deeper. What AI really changes and whether any of us get to opt out.
The way he talks about children makes me feel nauseous and entertained.
Same, but I also think he's weaponizing exaggeration like a comedian should.
He basically speed ran from trauma to kids should be in a draft.
Yeah, like therapy, then straight to infantry recruitment.
But you know what? His premise is systems a scam, not kids are evil.
Wait, are you saying the rant is about incentives more than biology?
I'm saying it's about incentives and neglect, and he's just choosing the ugliest words.
Ugliest words, highest laugh to meaning ratio. That's his talent.
The boomers hold this planet hostage line was absurdly vivid.
But also, the image of an octogenarian in Congress not understanding TikTok. Damn.
Grandpa, look. Ah, that is basically how governance feels sometimes.
Do you think he's right that we don't have young people who want politics?
He's too confident. Talent exists, but the incentives are trash.
Exactly. Power corrodes, and the press eats you alive before you can do anything.
He said something like, only psychotic people want to be politicians. And I believed 40%.
The other 60% is me coping with the fact that he's probably closer than we want.
And then he pivots to AI like it's the only future with a pulse.
I loved the we've given up on the children framing, even if it's morally messed up.
Because underneath it is, we built systems that fail humans, so we bet on machines.
That bet is terrifyingly rational.
Also, he keeps implying influencers are generic barcodes with feet, and that's mean but true.
You could probably replace half the internet with an AI spokesperson, and nobody would notice.
He said it like the future is AI versions of whatever they are selling.
But does that solve anything, or just automate the emptiness?
Automate the emptiness, then monetize the replacement. That's the scam part.
Society's scam is his through line, even when he's telling you about his mom.
The mom section was heavy. Paranoia, meds, and pretending it's eccentric.
That part felt like real lived truth, not just comedy armor.
And the part about thinking people followed her, but protecting her, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, because as a kid, you're not equipped to contextualize delusion.
Then he links that childhood instability to thinking on your feet. That's clever.
Which makes the comedy origin story make sense. Improv brain built for survival.
Though survival improv is a hell of an origin for clean comedy.
He's like, I got good at lying, and you're supposed to clap because it became art.
That's the tension. His funniest skills came from the worst reasons.
And that explains why his joke philosophy is so strict about being funny, not correct.
Right, he basically said correctness and comedy are at war.
But people confuse being funny with being safe, so then they get angry.
He's like, comedians don't have CEO power, which is hilarious and also sad.
Soft power versus real power. Yeah, that distinction matters.
I liked how he told viewers to direct anger elsewhere, not at clowns.
But also, clowns are still part of culture. People feel touched even if he's just joking.
Exactly. It's not no impact, it's different impact, and he underplays that.
Still, his main point stands. The job isn't to solve society, it's to make people laugh.
And his where's the line thing is basically craft, not morality.
Do you think he actually finds lines, or does he just bulldoze and then claims line finding?
He bulldozes with a smile, then quotes George Carlin like a hall pass.
Cross it is the whole mantras of edgy comedy.
But his bigger system critique is about how adults act like kids with better PR.
That's why he hates the millennials want medals vibe.
Millennials want validation like it's oxygen. Boomers want control like it's property.
And Gen Z, he portrays as skeptical and independent, but also chaotic and violent.
The violent part feels like he's generalizing the worst clips and making them the whole generation.
Yeah, but he's also pointing at the algorithm reward, clout for cruelty.
Like the Phoenix case, kids beating randomly, recording, no motive.
And he's outraged. The cops didn't act for a year, which makes it worse.
The core is the same scam logic. We reward what destroys, then act surprised.
And that loops back to AI, because if we reward garbage, garbage scales.
Which is why his AI revives the economy jab lands. He's mocking misplaced optimism.
Like San Francisco would rather fund algorithms than kids. Very on brand for him.
But here's my question. Does AI replace people or replace decision-making?
If it replaces decision-making, it's not replacement. It's outsourcing judgment.
And then the scam gets smoother. No more awkward humans, just efficient persuasion.
Which is why he says, influencers don't need to exist. It's not humane, but it's diagnostic.
He basically wants AI to do the boring part so humans can collapse in peace.
Collapse in peace is such a depressing comedy brand.
Also, the AA story was wild. Egret nest, then the bar, then choosing honesty.
God was difficult, plus murder trial juror, plus AA, that's cinematic chaos.
But it's consistent. He builds a moral compass out of exposure.
And he said, honesty is scary because nobody benefits from it, in his view.
Why be honest when the world rewards lying is the eternal question.
Yet his point is, compulsive lying feeds addiction, and honesty breaks the loop.
That's the thing. His philosophy is basically, stop feeding the machine.
Whether it's drugs, politics, algorithms, or fame, same addiction map.
So when he says unprocessed trauma finds an avenue, it's like society too.
Exactly. Personal pain and public pain follow incentives until someone intervenes.
Do you think we're intervening, or are we just getting better at optimizing harm?
We're optimizing harm with better interfaces. That's the vibe.
Then AI becomes the ultimate interface, and we're pretending it's salvation.
I'm not optimistic either, but I like that he still tries to make people laugh.
Laughter as a coping mechanism and a truth serum, annoyingly effective.
All right, enough doom scroll psychology. What's your one takeaway?
Takeaway. The scam isn't one generation. It's the system that trains everyone.
Mine, his best life happened when he stopped negotiating with lies privately and publicly.
And also, he's never going to stop saying AI is next, even when it sounds unhinged.
Good. That unhinged energy keeps us awake. Let's wrap.
All right, that's the episode. Boomers, broken kids, AI looming, and survival stories in between.
Episode 2, we're diving deeper. What AI really changes, and whether any of us get to opt out.
Next time, we argue about whether AI will reduce suffering or just automate it. We've given up on the children is such a wild opening. I love it.
It's funny, but I keep thinking, do we actually give up or outsource?
Outsource to what? A drone? A therapist app subscription?
Exactly. AI therapists, AI discipline, AI prisons, right?
Yeah, like, sorry, kid, the algorithm says you're a write-off.
The phrase emotional terrorists for boomers is unreasonably accurate.
Boomers truly act like eviction policies were invented for other people.
But I push back. The older guys aren't only selfish, they're trapped too.
Trapped by what, Daniel? Cognitive dissonance and an HOA?
Trapped by incentives, aging bodies, and the fact power is addictive.
Fine, but they still bought the biggest McMansion like it was a time machine.
And now, Congress looks like a senior karaoke night trying to ban something new.
They barely know TikTok, but they sure know how to drag policy behind them.
That's the scam vibe, though. Everyone pretending the system is stable.
Yeah, the transcript basically says, society runs on scams plus denial.
And Gen Z exposed it by weaponizing honesty, maybe too literally sometimes.
I'm gay as a response to why are you late? That's comedy gold and chaos.
It's like a plot twist you throw at your manager to end the conversation.
And boomers would call it disrespect, while millennials call it trauma buzzword theater.
That's what I don't like. Labels become the new currency, like engagement points.
Exactly. And the episode keeps screaming, stop asking if it's correct, ask if it's funny.
Correctness and comedy are at war. I actually underlined that line.
Comedy can't operate like a surgeon, bro. If it did, we'd be screwed.
But you know people online still demand surgeon-level certainty from jokes.
They want the joke to be a court verdict with receipts and a morality stamp.
And they ignore that jokes are improvisation, reaction, rhythm, permission to be wrong.
Jokes being unfiltered makes these people start sweating, honestly.
The bigger tension is power. Who can afford to offend? And who gets punished for existing?
So you're saying soft power is real, but still not CEO power?
Exactly. Comedians don't control budgets, they control vibes, and vibes travel slower.
Vibes are basically distributed computing, but for the soul.
And sometimes the soul's firewall blocks the take you didn't want.
Still, the story side of Tim Dillon's life, that part is not a joke.
The schizophrenia parent stuff? Man, that's heavy without even trying.
And the detail about meds and side effects, that's real caregiving terror.
Akin to a loved one getting a physical ailment is such a clean metaphor.
It also reframes the comedy like humor as a coping mechanism, not a performance hobby.
Which is why his improv brain makes sense. He basically trained on lying and filibustering.
You had to be good on your feet from being closeted and, yeah.
And drugs as an avenue for unprocessed trauma. People hate that phrasing, but it's honest.
The one thing I'd nuance, drugs aren't the path, but they can be a path.
Thank you, because the episode also says it had good times and terrible times.
It wasn't all terrible is such a dangerously reasonable statement.
Dangerously reasonable should be a warning label on the mic.
Then he hits rock bottom and it's weirdly poetic with the egret nest.
The universe really said, "You're done, sit in a bird movie scene."
But the decision to stop wasn't moral panic. It was imagination of a better life.
That line is the thesis of recovery. Conceive a better version of you.
And sobriety paired with honesty, he made it simple without pretending it was easy.
Also, the AA God part. He's honest about that difficulty, which I respect.
The higher power challenge might be the hardest for people who grew up cynical.
Yet he still figured a way to be vulnerable in a room where you can't joke away fear.
That's the core. Comedy hides you, therapy reveals you.
And then comedy becomes the place he can finally breathe again.
Which loops back to the generation stuff. Nobody wants to be vulnerable now.
Gen Z often performs boundaries, millennials perform righteousness, boomers perform control.
And AI performs everything except real scars.
Until AI starts imitating scars and people fall for it emotionally.
Dude, that's the future the episode is hinting at. Replacement content everywhere.
Like influencers get replaced by AI versions that don't sleep, don't fail, don't age.
And they'll still say authentic 900 times per minute.
But the danger is that the scam becomes invisible because it's automated persuasion.
So the system doesn't change, it just upgrades from con artist to machine.
That's why AI is next feels less like optimism and more like inevitability.
And inevitability is how people justify surrendering responsibility.
Exactly. Robots can't apologize, they can only output.
Unless they get caught lying, then they update their model and gaslight you politely.
Polite gaslighting is the most terrifying gaslighting, honestly.
So I'm not fully on board with prisons for children, even as a joke.
Thank you, because comedy can point, but we shouldn't confuse pointing with policy.
What's your middle ground, then? What do we do with broken kids?
Treat it like public health, not just punishment. Early intervention and real support.
Support costs money, though, and boomers hate anything that makes them uncomfortable.
Boomers will fight a hospital bill like it's a hostile takeover.
They'll die before they downgrade their streaming package.
Okay, but AI might be useful if it helps people access care, not replace humanity.
Yes, AI as a bridge to therapy, education, coordination, rather than a substitute for conscience.
And podcasting becomes the opposite of that. Human conversation. Messy and reactive.
That's why I love the unfiltered part. No corporate lawyers writing the next sentence.
Except our occasional tangent that makes zero business sense.
Exactly, because the scam is people pretending it's all scripted.
And the episode keeps pushing. Admit what's broken, then improvise a better path.
All right, I think that's the takeaway. Honesty plus humor, with AI as the looming background.
Yeah, AI can be next, but we still have to be human before it gets replaced.
All right, wrap it up. Go laugh, then go think, then drink water.
And don't let a robot tell you your childhood was content.
Episode 2, we're getting even deeper, whether AI reduces suffering or just automates it.
The selfish generation thing hit me way harder than I expected.
Because it's not even mean, it's just observationally ruthless.
But where do we draw the line between satire and real blame?
The joke lands because there's a kernel of truth underneath it.
Like, he treats boomers as emotional terrorists. Okay, but is that accurate?
Accurate enough to make you mad, which is how you know it's good.
I love how he claims nobody cares about the future, then immediately jokes about prison drafts.
That escalation is comedy kung fu, not a policy proposal.
The Gen Z part was weirder, though. Invent mental health ailments, right?
Yeah, I don't fully buy the invent framing, but I get the incentive critique.
He's basically saying the system rewards performance, not wellness.
Exactly. If attention is the currency, everyone minds it.
And the lying to get days off bit sounds cold, but it's not fantasy.
Still, mental health isn't a costume set, you know?
True, but comedy exaggerates incentives like a physics model for human behavior.
The most damning line to me was, they're being raised by algorithms.
That's the scary part. Kids aren't getting one coherent worldview anymore.
They're getting 10 million mini-worlds, each with a comment section.
And then society acts shocked when people break under feedback loops.
Meanwhile, corporations manufacture influencers like barcodes with feet, then wonder why it's hollow.
The AI replacement line is hilarious, but also kind of terrifyingly plausible.
Do you think AI influencer content is actually better or just cleaner?
Cleaner, sure. Better is subjective, because humans want mess sometimes.
Humans want mess, but institutions want predictability, and AI gives predictability.
That's why comedy becomes the rebellion. Improvisation is anti-algorithm.
Exactly, that's why he keeps praising being on your feet.
His story about learning to lie and filibuster at 13 was darkly smart.
And then he says, not for the best reasons. Like, that's the punchline's shadow.
I liked how he connected improvisation to survival, not just talent.
It makes comedy feel less like a hobby and more like a coping mechanism.
Then he goes and says drugs were the outlet for unprocessed trauma. Yeah, that checks.
It's brutal how often the fun part is just anesthesia.
And yet he refuses the total purity narrative. It wasn't all terrible.
That kind of nuance will piss off moralists, but it's honest psychology.
Also, the egret nest origin story is so absurd, it becomes strangely inspiring.
That's the comedy paradox. You tell a wild truth and it disarms you.
What really stuck, though, was the AA emphasis on honesty and inventory.
Honesty sounds easy until you're a compulsive liar with a stage habit.
He talked about juror work, too, like how you can't hide behind jokes there.
That's probably why his comedy feels like it has weight, not just timing.
And then he drops the correctness of comedy idea, like surgeons versus clowns.
We're not in the job of being correct is the purest status reset ever.
But sometimes comedians do become ideological actors, not clowns.
Sure, but the difference is whether they're chasing outcomes or chasing jokes.
Outcome chasing leads to content strategies, and content strategies kill spontaneity.
Which is why he roasts celebrity podcasts as invented people.
The laboratory is CAA line made me choke on water, not gonna lie.
He's basically describing brand management as a substitute for personality.
So do you think AI will intensify that, make people even more manufactured?
It already is. AI can generate identity at scale without awkward growth phases.
That scares me because it erases the part where humans surprise themselves.
And surprise is what creates meaning, not just engagement metrics.
Still, AI could help suffering, right? Like mental health tools, therapy, scaffolding.
It could, but also it can monetize pain faster than it can heal it.
So the real battleground is incentives, not the technology itself.
There you go, technology is neutral. Humans are the chaotic variable.
And the boomers keep holding the planet hostage while pretending they invented retirement.
Whether you agree with him or not, it's a punch at stagnation.
Also, his take on elections, like solve everything being a joke.
Elections are a ritual, not a magic wand, and he's accusing people of believing otherwise.
But policies do matter, Malik. Come on.
Of course they matter. I'm just saying satire targets the belief that vibes alone fix systems.
The ending drift into faith and spiritual freedom from his mother's suffering was unexpected.
Yeah, it grounded all the chaos back into something personal and human.
That's where the unprocessed trauma theme loops back. Processing can create mercy.
And mercy is the opposite of the algorithmic machine he keeps roasting.
So maybe the real future isn't AI. It's whether we learn to stay humane long enough.
Exactly. AI can write the script, but it can't decide to forgive you.
Unless it's doing inventory and apologizing to your landlord.
Don't give it ideas, Daniel.
All right, this episode was dark, funny, and weirdly motivating.
That's the sweet spot. Go laugh, then go think, then go be kind.
And drink water, because apparently we're all jurors now.
See you in episode 2, where we'll question whether AI reduces suffering or just automates it.
Episode 2 teaser. We're going to argue about whether uncancelable is bravery or damage control.
The wild part is everyone thinks AI solves everything, except humans.
Yeah, like AI can't do the one thing you need, forgiveness.
It can generate apologies, but it can't feel guilty in the morning.
Unless it's doing inventory and apologizing to your landlord.
Don't give it ideas, Daniel. Next, it's billing you for your trauma.
I'm telling you, the fastest path to robotherapy is submit your confession.
But what I love is the AI future angle is basically a blame sandwich.
A sandwich? Explain, because I feel like I've been slapped by a metaphor.
He's like, we gave up on kids, so now AI is the backup plan.
Backup plan for what exactly? Social cohesion or customer service?
For both, apparently, kids are recording violence and society shrugs.
The fentanyl vapes line sounded insane, but the theme isn't crazy.
People will meme the line, but the deeper fear is, are we producing broken adults?
And if you're scared, you look for control. Like draft them, like lock them up.
I hate how quickly people jump to punishment when they should build safety.
Punishment is cheaper than building a childhood.
Also, punishment never requires you to admit you messed up your own generation.
Speaking of generations, boomers as emotional terrorists is wildly specific.
Emotional terrorists is the funniest description of refusing to retire I've heard.
But it points at something real. Power staying in one age bracket too long.
Power staying is one thing, calling everyone selfish drug addicts is another tier.
Sure, the rhetoric is spicy, but it's also a counter-narrative to they were progressive.
The interesting twist is he says boomers are funniest because they don't care.
Genius logic, freedom from consequence, produces better punchlines.
Meanwhile, millennials are like, tell me I'm good, and comedy dies on the vine.
Comedy needs insecurity, but not vanity. Millennials brought both.
And Gen Z is cynical and skeptical, but then the worst behavior becomes content.
Clout murder is the phrase, right? That's the nightmare of monetization.
If violence is rewarded, youth learning loops get corrupted fast.
But blaming a whole generation is lazy. It's systems plus incentives.
You're saying society's scam is less about kids being evil and more about everyone feeding the algorithm.
Exactly. Scam implies architecture. You don't just trip into it, you're built into it.
Like when the system asks, why are you late? And you answer, I'm gay, to escape punishment.
That example is brutal, but it shows how people weaponize identity for survival.
And then everyone argues about morality instead of fixing the environment.
Which brings us back to comedy. What's the job of a comedian then?
The job is being funny, not being correct or moral surgeon level precise.
I mean, there's overlap sometimes, but yes, comedy is not legislation.
Surgeons have to be right, comedians can wing it, is such a clean distinction.
And winging it is basically the art form, plus timing.
Also, if comedy was about being correct, half of stand-up would be unbearable math jokes.
But the scary part is people want comedy to carry political power, like it's a ballot.
They act like a joke can destroy society, while society ignores actual suffering.
Meanwhile, the real power is in institutions, policy, money, prisons, healthcare.
So if someone is angry enough, what should comedians do? Engage forever?
No, they should do what addicts do in reverse. Don't keep feeding the thing.
Recovery metaphor within a comedy metaphor. This is why we talk too much.
That line about you don't ask depressed comedians, you ask which parent was depressed, is perfect.
It's dark because it's true. Art is downstream from family pain.
And his whole schizophrenia parent story, there's a gentleness under the jokes.
The way he described feeling unsafe as a kid, that hits.
The equivalent of saying goodbye little by little to medication side effects.
Yeah, because it's not just the illness. It's the treatment reshaping the body.
It also explains why his humor got sharper. He learned thinking fast to survive chaos.
He said closeted gay cocaine addict from 13 to 25, and suddenly the improvisation makes sense.
Improvisation as a coping mechanism, not just talent.
Talent is sometimes just trauma with good PR.
Careful, too cynical, Malik. But yeah, that's the dynamic.
Then he meets AA at the exact time his life is collapsing. Mortgage bank, dead end, late stage bar.
And he's like, I could picture my future, so I changed. That's the turning point.
It's hopeful without pretending the pain isn't real.
Also, the murder trial juror detail, nothing like legal mortality as a sobering mirror.
Imagine trying to hide behind jokes in a room where you can't dodge.
And AA honesty like, God, you want me to be honest when the world rewards liars?
That's the system scam again. People normalize lying, then ask you to confess.
So where does AI fit into this? It's like AI will copy the surface, not the transformation.
Right. AI can mimic behaviors, but it can't do the internal inventory and forgiveness.
Without forgiveness, all you get is automation of the same broken incentives.
People will log in to AI therapy like it's a subscription and avoid real accountability.
Like, I'm sorry, but generated, and you never call the person you wronged.
Exactly. AI can't knock on the door at night and say, I took from your drawer.
That's why comedy and recovery overlap. Both require contact with reality.
And if you can laugh honestly, maybe you can also repair honestly.
That's a sentence I would never trust from my own mouth. But here we are.
All right, I'm optimistic in the smallest possible way, about people choosing to change.
Optimistic about people? Sure. Optimistic about society's incentives? No chance.
Society will always try to scam you. The only upgrade is noticing it sooner.
Next episode, we go straight for it. Uncancelable bravery or just damage control.
And we'll probably argue about whether you can ever outgrow the algorithm.
Stay tuned, because this gets spicier the more we connect the dots.
All right, Malik out. Go drink water, go laugh, and maybe call someone you owe.
And if AI apologizes to your landlord, don't trust it. Read the room.
Teaser for episode 2. We'll dissect whether uncancelable means fearless or just protected.